Hey everyone, I'm working to hit 1,000 subscribers, and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy this content, please hit that subscribe button right now.
Dallas Turner is their first-round pick from 2 years ago. He is extremely athletic.
He gets swarmed immediately.
The Minnesota Vikings 2024 season has been nothing short of a complete disaster. Terrible quarterback play, a head coach firmly planted on the hot seat, and a general manager who seemingly should have been shown the door months ago. The franchise sits at a dismal 4 wins and 8 losses, their playoff dreams completely shattered, their fan base drowning in negativity and disappointment. But buried beneath the wreckage of this catastrophic season lies a glimmer of hope, a beacon of light that could reshape the entire future of this organization. That beacon has a name: Dallas Turner. The 22-year-old second-year edge rusher has undergone one of the most remarkable transformations in recent Vikings memory, evolving from what looked like a certified first-round bust into a legitimate premier pass rushing threat over the last 3 weeks. This isn't just about a young player finding his footing. This is about the Vikings potentially salvaging what was rapidly becoming an absolute nightmare scenario with their 2024 draft class. When you invest multiple draft picks to trade up for a player in the first round, expectations are stratospheric. When that same player looked completely overmatched and outclassed through the first half of his rookie season, panic sets in. But Dallas Turner has flipped the script in spectacular fashion, and the implications extend far beyond just his individual development. To understand the magnitude of Turner's recent surge, we need to examine just how dire the situation appeared early in the season. This wasn't a case of a rookie experiencing typical growing pains or showing flashes while making understandable mistakes. Dallas Turner looked completely lost out there. His performance against the run was abysmal, lacking any semblance of the physicality required to compete at the NFL level. Opposing offensive linemen weren't just winning their matchups against him, they were absolutely destroying him, pushing him around like a practice squad player. His pass rush arsenal appeared embarrassingly limited, his bag of moves looking more like a small clutch purse than the diverse toolkit expected from a first-round edge rusher. Play after play, Turner wasn't just losing reps, he was getting completely dominated, raised serious questions about whether he could even hang at the professional level. The concerns were legitimate and widespread. Fans and analysts alike began connecting the dots on what could have been a catastrophic draft class for the Vikings. J.J. McCarthy, the quarterback selected earlier in that same draft, already facing bust speculation. Dallas Turner, the edge rusher they mortgaged significant draft capital to acquire, looking completely unprepared for NFL competition. The front office decisions that led to these selections were being scrutinized mercilessly, and rightfully so. When you're a team that desperately needs to identify and develop young talent to compete in one of the NFL's most competitive divisions, you simply cannot afford to whiff on first-round picks. The pressure was mounting, the criticism was intensifying, and the future was looking increasingly bleak. Then something remarkable happened. Over the last 3 weeks, Dallas Turner has transformed into exactly the type of player the Vikings envisioned when they selected him. The numbers tell a compelling story of rapid development and increasing dominance. Against the Chicago Bears in Week 11, Turner generated 5 quarterback pressures and recorded a sack, posting a solid PFF grade that suggested the light was beginning to click on. Against the Green Bay Packers and their formidable offensive line in Week 12, he continued his upward trajectory with 3 pressures and another sack, proving this wasn't just a one-game flash in the pan against inferior competition. But Week 13 against the Seattle Seahawks represented Turner's true coming-out party, the performance that should have Vikings fans genuinely excited about the future. 4 quarterback pressures, 2 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and an outstanding PFF grade of 64.1. These weren't just numbers on a stat sheet. This was domination. This was a young edge rusher imposing his will on opposing offenses, using the elite athleticism and closing speed that made him a first-round pick to wreak havoc in opposing backfields. If the Vikings had managed to pull out a victory against Seattle, Turner would have undoubtedly received the game ball. His impact was that significant, that undeniable. What makes Turner's recent surge even more impressive is the level of competition he's facing. The NFL represents the absolute pinnacle of football talent, where even the worst offensive linemen in the league were dominant collegiate players. For a 22-year-old edge rusher to go from getting thoroughly embarrassed to generating elite-level pressure and production represents remarkable growth in an incredibly short time frame. His increased snap count tells the story of coaching staff confidence growing exponentially. When veteran Jonathan Greenard missed weeks 11 and 12 due to injury, Turner wasn't just filling in, he was excelling. The Vikings weren't merely surviving without their established starter. They were thriving with their young upstart getting extended opportunities. The contrast between Turner and other elite edge rushers from the 2024 draft class provides important context. Many have compared Turner unfavorably to Jared Verse, who has looked like a complete game changer from day one. But the comparison isn't entirely fair when you consider the developmental trajectories and age differences involved. Jared Verse entered the NFL as a 24-year-old player, essentially 3 full classes ahead of Dallas Turner developmentally. Turner was just 21 years old when drafted, still growing into his body, still learning the nuances of professional pass rushing. The physical development alone between ages 22 and 24 is absolutely massive for edge rushers who need to add functional strength while maintaining the elite athleticism that makes them effective. The archetype Turner represents should give Vikings fans tremendous hope for the future. His playing style draws comparisons to premier NFL edge rushers like Brian Burns and Von Miller, players known for their exceptional athleticism, explosive first step, and phenomenal closing speed. These aren't just solid NFL starters we're talking about. These are Pro Bowl caliber pass rushers who consistently impact games at the highest level. If Turner can continue developing along this trajectory, adding the grown man strength needed to consistently set the edge against the run, while maintaining his pass rushing prowess, the Vikings could have a genuine star on their hands. Turner's most impressive attribute might be his closing speed, that elite burst that allows him to turn quarterback pressures into sacks and disrupted plays into game-changing fumbles. We've seen flashes of it throughout the season, but the last 3 weeks have provided concrete evidence that this isn't just measurable speed that looks good on paper. This is functional football speed that translates directly to production on Sundays. And when Turner gets his hands on quarterbacks now, they're going down. When he's targeting the ball, he's forcing fumbles. These are the plays that change games, that swing momentum, that win championships. The coaching staff's growing trust in Turner became abundantly clear in Week 13 when Jonathan Greenard returned from injury. Despite having their veteran edge rusher back in the lineup, the Vikings gave Greenard just 15 snaps compared to 47 for Turner. Now, Greenard was clearly dealing with lingering health issues that limited his effectiveness and availability, but the snap distribution still tells a significant story. The coaching staff wasn't just giving Turner garbage time reps or situational pass rushing opportunities. They were trusting him to handle the full complement of edge rusher responsibilities, believing he had developed enough to carry a featured role in their defensive scheme. Perhaps no statistic better illustrates Turner's Week 13 dominance than his pass rush grade ranking among all NFL edge rushers for that week. The 22-year-old Viking found himself in elite company, posting an 85.4 overall pass rush grade that placed him among the very best in the league for that single week. Micah Parsons, the Dallas Cowboys all-pro edge rusher, led the way with a 90.6 grade. Myles Garrett, the Cleveland Browns perennial Defensive Player of the Year candidate, checked in at 87.7. Jadeveon Clowney, having a resurgent season with the Cowboys, posted an 86.2 following his dominant Thanksgiving performance. Dallas Turner sat at 85.4, right there with Khalil Mack at 85.3. That's not just good company, that's Hall of Fame caliber company. Elite of the elite company. This isn't about crowning Turner as the next great NFL edge rusher after 3 good weeks. Professional football doesn't work that way, and premature proclamations have burned fans countless times before. But what we're witnessing is tangible evidence of genuine development, of a young player overcoming early career struggles to realize the potential that made him a first-round selection. The physical tools were always there. The athleticism was never in question. What needed to happen was the mental processing, the technical refinement, the strength development, and the confidence building that separates college prospects from NFL contributors. Turner appears to be making all those necessary leaps simultaneously. The key question moving forward centers on whether Turner can continue adding functional strength to his frame while maintaining the explosive athleticism that makes him dangerous. At 22 years old, he's still physically maturing, still developing that grown man strength that separates good edge rushers from great ones. His current limitations against the run stem primarily from this strength deficit. He's not consistently setting the edge, not reliably holding up against powerful blocking schemes designed to neutralize speed rushers. But these are correctable issues for a young player still growing into his body. With proper strength and conditioning work, proper technique coaching, and another year of physical maturation, there's no reason Turner can't develop into a complete three-down edge rusher. The encouraging signs extend beyond just the statistical production. Watching Turner's tape from recent weeks reveals a player whose technical proficiency is rapidly improving. His hand placement is better, his counter moves are more refined, and his understanding of how to convert speed to power is becoming more consistent. These aren't things that show up in box scores, but they're the foundation upon which elite pass rushers build their careers. The Vikings coaching staff deserves tremendous credit for sticking with Turner through his early struggles, for continuing to develop him even when the results weren't immediately apparent, for believing in the process even when the fan base was ready to declare him a bust. Turner's emergence creates fascinating questions about the Vikings' edge rusher room moving forward, particularly regarding the future of Jonathan Greenard. The veteran signed a team-friendly contract this offseason, a 3-year deal worth approximately $22 million per season that represents solid value for a player of his caliber. Greenard has been consistently productive during his Minnesota tenure, generating pressure at a high rate, even if his sack totals haven't always reflected his impact. He's dramatically improved against the run in 2024 compared to his first season with the team, developing into a more complete player who can handle all phases of edge rushing responsibilities. But with the Vikings facing significant salary cap constraints and Turner demonstrating he's ready for an expanded role, could Minnesota actually consider trading Greenard this offseason? On the surface, the idea seems counterintuitive. Why would you trade away a productive veteran on a reasonable contract when you're trying to build a winning team? But dig deeper into the Vikings situation and the logic starts to emerge. This team needs to get younger and cheaper across the roster. They need to accumulate draft capital to address glaring holes at multiple positions. They need to clear salary cap space to retain key players and sign impactful free agents. Trading Greenard accomplishes all three objectives simultaneously. Consider the dynamics at play. Greenard will be 28 years old when the 2025 season begins, firmly in his prime but approaching the back nine of his career. Dallas Turner will be entering his third season, the traditional breakout year for NFL edge rushers, still on his rookie contract and cost-controlled for multiple years. The Vikings could potentially extract a second or third round pick, possibly a package of picks, from a contending team desperate for pass rushing help. That draft capital becomes crucial for a team needing to rebuild significant portions of its roster. The salary cap savings, while not enormous given Greenard's reasonable contract, still provide flexibility in a constrained environment. From a developmental standpoint, trading Greenard would force Turner into a true featured role where he's playing every down, facing every situation, and growing through the inevitable struggles that come with increased responsibility. The Vikings still have Andrew Van Ginkel as a veteran presence in the edge rusher room, providing leadership and consistency. They could invest a mid to late round draft pick in another developmental edge rusher to round out the group. But Turner would be the unquestioned featured player, the guy defensive coordinator Brian Flores builds his pass rushing schemes around. For a young player on the cusp of stardom, that kind of opportunity can be transformative. The timing considerations matter significantly as well. Turner will be eligible for a contract extension following the 2025 season. The Vikings need a full season of evaluating him as a featured player before making that kind of financial commitment. If they keep Greenard and continue splitting reps, they'll be making crucial contractual decisions based on incomplete information. By trading Greenard and unleashing Turner, they'll get definitive answers about whether their young edge rusher can sustain his recent success over a full 17-game season. That information becomes invaluable when negotiating extensions that could be worth tens of millions of dollars. The broader context of the Vikings' organizational direction also factors into this decision. This season has been an unmitigated disaster. There's simply no other way to characterize a 4-8 record for a team with playoff expectations. Major changes are coming this offseason. Kevin O'Connell's seat is scorching hot, even though ownership has publicly supported him. Kwesi Adofo-Mensah's draft record has been thoroughly underwhelming, raising serious questions about whether he should continue leading football operations. The quarterback situation remains completely unsettled, with both Sam Darnold and Nick Mullins proving they're not long-term answers. This franchise needs a hard reset, a philosophical shift toward youth development and building sustainable success rather than chasing quick fixes. Trading Greenard would be a statement move, a declaration that the Vikings are committed to developing their young talent and building for the future rather than desperately clinging to veteran players in hopes of salvaging a lost season. It would send a message to the locker room that production and potential matter more than seniority and reputation. It would demonstrate organizational alignment between the front office, coaching staff, and ownership about the direction of the franchise. These kinds of moves are never easy, never popular in the immediate aftermath, but they're often necessary for teams trying to escape mediocrity and achieve sustained excellence. The argument against trading Greenard is straightforward. He's been productive, he's on a reasonable contract, and edge rushers are difficult to find. The Vikings' pass rush has been one of their few bright spots in an otherwise dismal season, ranking among the league leaders in pressure rate, even if sack totals haven't always followed. Greenard has been a significant contributor to that success, and deliberately weakening one of your few position groups of strength seems counterproductive when you're trying to return to contention. Veterans like Greenard provide stability, leadership, and consistent production that young players simply cannot match. There's value in having multiple quality edge rushers who can rotate and stay fresh throughout a long season. Additionally, betting your entire edge rushing future on a player with 3 good games following a terrible first half of the season carries obvious risk. What if Turner's recent success was an aberration? What if he regresses to his early season form? What if injuries derail his development? NFL history is littered with players who showed flashes of brilliance before fading into obscurity. The Vikings would be taking a significant gamble by moving on from proven production in favor of unproven potential, even if that potential looks increasingly legitimate. But fortune favors the bold in professional sports. Teams that cling too long to veterans, that prioritize stability over upside, that make safe decisions instead of optimal ones, those teams end up trapped in mediocrity. The Vikings have been mediocre for far too long. Their last Super Bowl appearance was in 1977. They haven't won a championship since 1969. This franchise needs to take calculated risks, to identify young talent and bet on their development, to make difficult decisions that position them for long-term success, even if they create short-term challenges. Trading Jonathan Greenard would absolutely qualify as that kind of decision. The potential return on a Greenard trade deserves consideration as well. In today's NFL, productive pass rushers on reasonable contracts carry significant trade value. Teams like the Los Angeles Rams, who consistently trade future draft capital for proven veterans, would likely be interested. Contending teams with salary cap space and limited pass rushing production would view Greenard as a perfect addition. The Vikings probably wouldn't fetch a first-round pick given Greenard's age and contract situation, but a second-rounder or a package of third- and fourth-round picks seems realistic. That kind of draft capital becomes crucial for a team needing to address multiple roster deficiencies. The Vikings' 2024 season may be irredeemably lost, but Dallas Turner's emergence provides genuine hope for the future. This isn't about moral victories or finding silver linings in a terrible season. This is about identifying foundational pieces for your next competitive roster, about developing young talent who can grow into stars, about making the kinds of discoveries that change organizational trajectories. If Turner continues his upward trajectory, if he develops into the premier edge rusher his recent play suggests he can become, the Vikings will have found an absolute cornerstone defensive player despite all the organizational chaos surrounding them. The NFL is ultimately about player evaluation and development. Teams that consistently identify talent, that put young players in positions to succeed, that demonstrate patience through inevitable growing pains, those are the organizations that achieve sustained success. The Vikings' early season handling of Dallas Turner looked misguided, throwing a young player into situations he wasn't ready for and watching him struggle mightily. But their recent approach, giving him time to develop, increasing his role gradually, putting him in positions where his athleticism can shine, that's proper player development. The results speak for themselves. As the Vikings navigate what promises to be a transformative offseason, Dallas Turner's continued development should be a primary organizational focus, whether that means trading Jonathan Greenard to clear playing time and cap space, or keeping the veteran around to provide stability and mentorship. The ultimate goal remains unchanged. The Vikings need Turner to become a star, to fulfill the promise that made him worthy of first-round investment, to anchor their pass rush for the next decade. 3 weeks of dominant play doesn't guarantee that outcome, but it sure makes it seem increasingly possible. For Vikings fans drowning in negativity after a catastrophic season, Dallas Turner represents something precious and increasingly rare: legitimate hope. Not the delusional hope that this team can somehow salvage their 2024 campaign, but genuine belief that the future can be brighter, that young talent is developing, that the organization might actually get something right despite getting so much wrong. In a season defined by disappointment and dysfunction, watching a 22-year-old edge rusher transform from bust to breakout star feels like the beginning of something special. So, to all the Vikings faithful who have suffered through this nightmare season, who have watched their team stumble through embarrassing losses and inexplicable decisions, who have questioned whether this franchise will ever figure it out, here's your reason for optimism. Dallas Turner is starting to look like a legitimate star in the making. His combination of athleticism, closing speed, and rapidly improving technique could make him one of the NFL's premier pass rushers over the next several seasons. The Vikings finally got something right with their 2024 draft class, and it might just be the foundation piece their defense desperately needs. Don't let the negativity of this lost season overshadow the significance of Turner's emergence. This is how championship teams are built, through identifying and developing young talent who can become cornerstones of your roster. The Vikings have found one in Dallas Turner. Now they need to put him in the best possible position to succeed, surround him with complementary talent, and let his natural abilities flourish. The future might not be as bleak as this disastrous season suggests, and Dallas Turner is the primary reason why Vikings fans can still dream about better days ahead. What do you think about Dallas Turner's incredible transformation? Should the Vikings consider trading Jonathan Greenard to clear the way for their young star? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Hit that like button if you're excited about Turner's future, and make sure you're subscribed so you never miss our coverage of everything Minnesota Vikings. Let's ride this wave of optimism as far as it can take us, because in a season from hell, Dallas Turner has given us a glimpse of heaven.